A single father with only a middle school education, I wouldn't want my daughter marrying into that. Get out, my son, Sam proposed to his girlfriend, Amy. I accompanied him to greet her parents, only to discover her father was the well-known owner of a brand store. Knowing his fiancée came from a distinguished family made Sam nervous, but he confidently answered all of William's probing questions. However, the moment William learned I only graduated from middle school, he struck Sam across the face. I can't contain my anger at someone who looks down on others because they don't match his family status. "Let's meet again," I said, and Sam, Amy, and I headed to the hospital. On the way, I told her that I might confront William about this. After hearing her response, I was more determined than ever. The next day, William was shocked to learn who I really am. I'm Tim, and I'm 69 years old. Since my wife passed away, I've been living with my son Sam since retiring. My legs have gotten weaker, and now I can't walk for long periods, so I rely on a wheelchair at home. I can't move around without Sam's help. He's 20 now, in the prime of his life, so as not to be a burden to him, we hired a housekeeper. But Sam still cares deeply for me, pushing my wheelchair out even on his days off. I'm always silently grateful to him. And then Sam's big moment came. He proposed to his girlfriend, Amy, one night after coming home from work. Sam's news almost made me drop my tea. "Dad, I proposed to my girlfriend. Is that so? What did Amy say?" I waited anxiously for Sam's reply. Slowly, Sam formed a circle with both hands. She said okay, she'll marry me. I'll never forget the look of happiness on his face at that moment. I held back tears of joy and congratulated Sam. "Congratulations, you've grown into a fine man." "Thanks." But Sam's excitement was short-lived, and he suddenly looked downcast. "What's wrong? You got a yes, but you look so down all of a sudden." It's great that she said yes, but now I have to get her parents' blessing, and I'm really nervous about it. I also felt really nervous when I went to greet my late wife's parents. Her father was quite stubborn, and it took many bows before he finally gave his blessing. And now Sam is about to go through the same rite of passage as I did. Trying to encourage him, I patted him on the shoulder. I was really nervous when I went to ask for permission to marry. But if you express your feelings honestly, your sincerity will surely come across. I'm not just a doting father when I say that Sam is truly a fine young man. He's serious about his work and even does the housework. He's also popular with the ladies in the neighborhood because he's such a pleasant young man. Okay, it's a bit scary, but I'll give it my best shot. That's the spirit. First, let's drink to your successful proposal. That night, the two of us toasted with our best sake. The marriage introduction was set to take place at a traditional restaurant. Amy chose a restaurant that was accessible in my wheelchair, showing just how considerate she is. Sam definitely has good taste in women. She's a real catch. I'm sure these two will be happy together. Suddenly, I felt an urge to give Sam a gift to prepare him for the marriage proposal. I decided to buy something fitting for a man to boost his courage. So while he was at work, I went with my hired assistant to a high-end department store. Looking around, I saw a set of bowls being sold as a couple's item. However, I quickly reminded myself that he hadn't yet received the parents' approval. Trying not to jump the gun, I headed to a men's boutique. Which one should I choose? I mumbled as I browsed, being in a wheelchair. I couldn't reach the shelves and had to ask a nearby salesperson for help. "Excuse me, could you help me see something on the top shelf?" However, the salesperson ignored me upon seeing my wheelchair. Thinking he hadn't heard me, I tried again. Then the salesperson said with a sneer, "We don't have anything suitable for someone like you here." I was taken aback by his attitude. Just as I was about to complain, a well-dressed man emerged from the back. The other staff bowed to him, showing he was someone important at the store. He seemed to be in his late 50s, stocky and stout. I approached him, hoping he would correct the salesperson's behavior. "Excuse me, I was treated horribly by your staff, As I was about to explain, the earlier salesperson called out, "Mr. Williams, the president," and hurried over. This man in the suit was not the store manager, but the president of the company. Upon hearing his name and taking a closer look, I recognized him. He was Williams, the head of a major men's wear brand that operates stores nationwide, a brand well known throughout Japan. "Well, sir, was there an issue with the staff?" When I explained what happened, Williams looked down at me and asked again. That staff member treated me with disrespect when I asked for help. I expected Williams to apologize and correct the issue, but to my dismay he just snorted and laughed. "Haha, sir, this is a high-end men's store. If you're dissatisfied, perhaps try somewhere else." I was shocked and openly showed my anger. "Can't you see our clientele are all affluent? We have nothing suitable for someone as plainly dressed as you." Williams smirked, laughing with the staff. Appalled by the treatment, I left the store in anger. "Forget it, I don't need this place." I knew the brand was popular among celebrities, but this was a bitter experience. I eventually bought a different gift, but the incident left a bad taste in my mouth. I plan to give Sam the gift after a successful marriage proposal meeting, and today we are on our way to the traditional restaurant where Amy's parents are waiting. "Sigh, I'm getting nervous," Sam sighed as he pushed my wheelchair. "Don't worry, Amy's parents are probably nice people," I reassured him multiple times as we approached our destination. Though traditional Japanese restaurants often have mats and cushions, they accommodated me with a room with chairs and a table waiting. There were Amy and her parents, but the moment I saw her father's face, I involuntarily exclaimed, "What's wrong, Dad?" "Nothing, it's nothing." The father of the other party turned out to be Mr. Williams, the president from earlier. Indeed, Amy shares his last name, which isn't usual, so I hadn't thought much of it. When I saw Williams, he looked at me and nodded with a smile. His demeanor was different from our encounter at the store, and I couldn't hide my surprise. "Nice to meet you." "I'm looking forward to today," he said, inviting me to sit down. That's when I realized he had forgotten meeting me. To him, I was just another unsuitable customer, not even worth remembering. Realizing he had forgotten, I calmed myself down, remembering that today was about the marriage proposal. However, the thought of Williams becoming Sam's father-in-law didn't bring me joy. Japanese cuisine was served, and as the meal began, I felt awkward while Williams started a conversation. "So where did you meet my daughter, Amy?" "I met her through a mutual acquaintance at work, and it was love at first sight for both of us. We dated after work, and our relationship deepened." I added, "Ah, you have a good eye to take a liking to my daughter." Williams chuckled. "I learned about your family after dating for a while, and was surprised to find out that my father-in-law is a famous apparel company's president." Haha. Sam seemed to be getting along well with Williams. I was relieved to see the parents and Sam in a friendly atmosphere. Amy, initially nervous, relaxed as she saw the two men chatting. Then Williams began, "Our family line dates back far beyond the Shogun era, and I've always been told by my father not to let our lineage down. It's the duty of the Williams family head." Yes, the mood tensed up, and Sam audibly swallowed. "So I need to determine if you are suitable to be my daughter's husband. Let's see if you have what it takes." Williams gave Sam a sly look. He was smiling, but his words clearly placed us beneath him. I had thought this at the store, but Williams is an arrogant man. He seems to think that all the glory built up by his ancestors is his own doing, even though he's just a high-end brand shop owner. Sitting quietly, Amy whispered a criticism to him, "Dad, please choose your words carefully." In an instant, Williams slapped her across the face. It was so sudden that Sam and I couldn't move. "What kind of attitude is that towards your father?" "I will decide who your husband will be. Don't you dare speak out." Amy looked downcast with a bruised cheek. I was shocked. It was too much. "Mr. Williams, sir, that was a bit too much." Sam rebuked him immediately, thinking the same. But perhaps that was a mistake, as Williams glared at him. "Oh, a greenhorn dares to speak against me. I came here today hoping for your approval to marry Amy," Sam responded, looking straight at the daunting figure before him. He was determined to marry Amy no matter the opponent. Inspired by his courage, I also faced Williams. "My son is diligent at work and highly regarded by his superiors. He's still in his 20s, but I believe he has a promising future." "Desperate to join our ranks, are you, Williams?" Scoffed. Keeping my cool against his snide remark, I said, "I only wish for my son and Amy's happiness. Please grant them your blessing for their marriage." Then I bowed my head down to the table. "Please let your daughter marry me," Sam followed suit, bowing deeply. However, Williams clicked his tongue loudly. "Didn't you hear? I decide if you are suitable to be my son-in-law." "Dad, don't raise your voice. It's disturbing the other patrons." Amy intervened. "Be quiet. Your marriage is my decision to make." Despite Amy's attempt to stop him, Williams glared back at us. "Why are only two of you here? It's only polite for both parents to come to a marriage meeting, you know that." Sam's mother, it seems Sam had already explained our family situation to her, but Williams appeared to have completely forgotten. "My wife passed away when Sam was in high school. Since then, it's just been the two of us," I explained. "We've overcome the grief of losing family members and are here now. My role, having outlived my wife, is to ensure Sam's happiness, so it's a father-son household. Such broken people shouldn't dare approach our family," Williams sneered. Sam and I were stunned by his insult. Amy and her mother looked at Williams in disbelief. "Please take back what you just said. I might overlook it if it was just about me, but I can't ignore an insult towards my father and late mother." Sam, sitting beside me, was visibly angry, his face turning red. "An insult? I'm merely stating facts." Williams scoffed, taunting him further. Then, ignoring our opinions, he bombarded us with questions. "Any promotions in the pipeline? If the current project I'm negotiating succeeds, there might be a chance for a promotion to manager, and you think that's enough to marry into?" Williams laughed mockingly. Every time Sam answered, Williams would laugh at him as if mocking him. The atmosphere felt as oppressive as a stress interview, weighing heavily on the room. Amy and her mother, perhaps frightened by Williams, remained silent and looked down the whole time. "I only like highly educated elites. Surely, Sam, you've graduated from a decent university, right?" I was getting angry at the way he was sizing up Sam. Facing Williams, who judged us as lesser and sneered, I wanted to put him in his place, but I knew any reactions could jeopardize Sam's marriage. "I studied economics at a national university and have experience studying abroad," Sam responded firmly, unfazed by Williams's oppressive questioning. Amy seemed relieved by his demeanor. I felt proud of my son, but perhaps disliking Sam's attitude. Williams frowned and turned to me with a question. "And where did you go to university?" I felt an unpleasant premonition but could not lie. "Due to financial reasons, I only graduated from middle school and never went to college." At my answer, Williams twitched his eyebrow and fell silent. Amid the heavy silence, Sam spoke up. "Educational backgrounds don't matter between Amy and me. We are serious about wanting to marry." Just as he continued, Williams's fist struck Sam's face. Sam was sent flying, crashing through the sliding doors onto the outside corridor. A passing server screamed in shock. I moved my wheelchair to see Sam with his nose swollen and red. Emmy rushed over and pressed a handkerchief to his nose. At this point, my patience with Williams had run out. "What are you doing to my son?" I yelled at him, and Williams looked down on us with cold disdain. "A single father with only a middle school education. I wouldn't want my daughter marrying into that. Get out. It seemed he had struck Sam because of his disdain for our family background and educational level. Let's meet again, filled with the urge to retaliate, but prioritizing Sam's care. I knew we needed to get him to a hospital due to a possible fracture. After giving Williams a stern look, I asked a server to call a taxi. While waiting, I asked Williams one last question. "Do you recognize my face by any chance, Mr. Williams?" "What? I wouldn't know someone as poor-looking as you." Williams glanced at me and scoffed dismissively. "Is that so? That's too bad." "What, trying to say you're not the bottom of the barrel?" He sneered. I didn't respond, and as the taxi arrived, the server helped us get in. Amy also tearfully offered to accompany us, so the three of us went to the hospital. On the way to the hospital, Amy spoke up softly. "My father has always been like this, always saying we are a noble family. It seems William grew into such an arrogant person due to the privileged environment he was raised in. Having too much wealth seems to corrupt people. Yet Amy is such a kind-hearted woman, unlike what one would expect from someone like him. She's still showing concern for Sam. How happy Sam and she would be if they got married. But the huge obstacle they face is Williams. Wanting to support them, I said to Amy, "We might have to confront your father, and it might affect you, your mother, and your home." She looked at me with wide eyes. Then with a determined look, she replied, "No matter what, I want to marry Sam. I will tell my mother myself." Knowing her feelings, I took out my cell phone and made a call. "Hello, it's me. Sorry for the urgency, but gather everyone for an emergency." Soon after, we arrived at the hospital. Fortunately, Sam did not have any fractures, only needing some ointment. We got a medical report from the doctor, now ready to handle Williams whenever necessary. The next day, I went to a rented conference room somewhere in downtown. Worried about me, Sam was with his assistant today due to work. When I entered the conference room, many people were already there, including some older gentlemen and a woman in her 40s wearing glasses. Williams was also present. Seeing me, he looked utterly shocked. "Why are you here?" he exclaimed loudly. As soon as he raised his voice, the others in the room glared at him. Noticing the odd atmosphere, Williams looked around nervously. "What's going on with everyone?" "It's obvious, Mr. Williams," one remarked. "What's more important, why is a middle school grad in this sacred place?" Initially shocked, Williams now looked at me with disdain. "I gathered everyone here urgently," I responded. "What? You are not an outsider." Williams shouted in anger, but inciting his emotions further, I smirked mischievously. "Is it appropriate to speak to me like that, considering I'm the majority shareholder?" Poor Williams's face turned to disbelief, and I couldn't help but laugh. "My goodness, not knowing your own company's shareholders. What a noble family," I taunted. "What? It's true. I own more than half of the company's shares and attend shareholder meetings, though being in a wheelchair, I might not seem very noticeable. I had called the shareholders yesterday to organize an emergency shareholder meeting. Thank you for attending despite the short notice," I said, bowing to the shareholders who returned the gesture with smiles. Then, looking back at Williams, who stared at me wide-eyed, he flinched under my gaze. "Thank you for yesterday. I wanted to express my gratitude by holding this emergency shareholder meeting here." "What gratitude?" Williams trembled nervously. "As the principal shareholder, I've worked as an investor even now from my wheelchair. I analyze market trends and mentor juniors on investment strategies. The profits from my investments have exceeded hundreds of millions of dollars, enabling me to provide financial aid to numerous companies. In return, as a shareholder, I can influence the company's management policies and participate in the appointment and dismissal of executives." "I would like to discuss a proposal for the dismissal of President Williams," I said. "What, fire me? That's ridiculous." Williams exclaimed and tried to leave the room. However, other shareholders blocked the door. Last night, when I told the shareholders about the emergency general meeting, they agreed with me and proposed a vote of no confidence against Williams. Considering he struck the son of the principal shareholder, appropriate sanctions are necessary. I stated, glaring at Williams. Realizing the gravity of the situation, he began to sweat and panic, yet he chuckled smugly, then burst out laughing. "Ha, you think you can intimidate me? I won't let my family's legacy crumble in my generation." Williams looked around at the shareholders. "If you fire me, this company is finished. Our brand stands out because of its 100-year history. I plan to merge it with another company I support," he retorted. "What? I am also a major shareholder in another company and considered merging it with Williams's," I replied. I was prepared to use any means necessary to oust this contemptible man from his presidency. "It's called an absorption merger. Your company will be absorbed by another," I explained. "What? I won't allow it," Williams stated defiantly. An absorption merger would mean he could no longer be president. Sensing his position was threatened, he directed hostility towards me. "I won't let someone who knows nothing about running this family business take it from me. I can't let the injustice done to my son go unaddressed," I countered. We glared at each other, the tension palpable. Then Williams pointed at me with a cunning smile. "You say he was harmed, but do you have any proof? It's rude to accuse someone without proof. You won't be easily forgiven even if you apologize on your knees," he loudly addressed the other shareholders. "Have any of you seen proof from Mr. Tim?" They looked at each other and shook their heads. Nobody has any proof. Then Mr. Tim's claims must be false. The room began to murmur and suspicious glances were cast my way. Confident he had turned the situation around, Williams gloated. "You almost deceived everyone with your lies. I should sue you for defamation and get hefty compensation," he taunted as he approached me. "Why don't you say something? Or perhaps you do have proof." "Yes, I do," I replied. "What I had was my assistant prepare something special. I had a projector set up in front of the screen and connected it to my cell phone. I've obtained special cooperation for the agenda. I will now play a video," I announced to Williams and the others. Then I played the video stored on my phone. Displayed on the screen was a scene of the Williams family and my family having a meal together. The footage was shot from an overhead perspective, clearly from a security camera. When Williams realized he was on camera, he started to panic. "What is this video? When did you get this?" He tried to approach me, but the shareholders held him back. I had anticipated this and secured the evidence in advance. In fact, after sending Sam to the hospital yesterday, I went back to the restaurant. I explained the situation to the owner and the waitress and bought the security footage from them. "Did you bribe the restaurant?" "What a low move," Williams exclaimed. "I'm not so naive as to stay silent after my son was attacked," I retorted. The video continued to play, showing the scene where Sam was answering Williams's questions before Williams struck him. The shareholders gasped in shock. In the video, Williams was seen yelling at us, a single father with only a middle school education. "I wouldn't want my daughter marrying into that. Get out." Then the footage showed us leaving for the hospital by taxi. However, the video didn't end there. While Amy, Sam, and I were on our way to the hospital, Williams and his group were still at the restaurant. Williams's expression tensed up as he watched. "Stop this video now," he yelled at me, but I had no intention of complying. Ignoring him, I turned up the volume. In the video, Williams was reproached by his wife and then slapped her. "Silence as my wife, you obey without question. I won't tolerate backtalk from you, the company staff, or those pompous shareholders. You're all just pawns to me," he said. The video ended with his wife sobbing, and the screen went blank. Silence fell over the room. Nobody spoke. Williams stood pale-faced in front of the screen. That was the evidence, video of President Williams hitting my son. "Oh, and the last part was just a bonus," I said with a smirk. "Now you can't deny it happened. I continued. Williams, trembling, turned to face the shareholders. "Ah," he squeaked, stepping back in a pathetic manner. The shareholders glared at him fiercely, ready to pounce. With the proof presented and his disdain for the shareholders revealed, Williams found himself cornered by everyone present. "You insulted the people who fund you. You know what happens next, right?" I added with a smirk. Williams's face contorted as he began to unravel. One can only imagine what happens to a company once its shareholders turn their backs, I said. Even the vast wealth of the Williams family would be severely hit if the shareholders collectively abandoned them. Moreover, if the incident with Sam and Williams's harshness were exposed externally, it would damage the company's image. Client transactions might also be withdrawn. Okay, I understand. I'll increase the dividends for everyone, so please forgive me, Williams pleaded, putting his hands together in front of the shareholders. But they were furious, saying, "We can't forgive someone who's insulted us behind our backs." "Please, I'm terribly sorry. Forgive me." Williams kept apologizing, surrounded by the majority of people, now forced into a humble posture. Normally bold, he quickly cowers when his position weakens. Seeing this, I realized that's the real Williams. Raised in privilege and pampered from birth, he lost any sense of gratitude, using his ancestors' prestige to look down on others. Living luxuriously and complacent, Williams struck Sam without knowing I was the principal shareholder. This is the result of his choice. Unable to gain forgiveness from the shareholders, he half cried, clinging to me. "Mr. Tim, I am so sorry. Please forgive me." "Do you regret hitting my son?" He nodded vigorously and knelt before me. "Absolutely. I will also pay damages to your son, so please continue to support us financially." "I refuse. My goal is to remove you from the presidency," I continued. "We met before the marriage meeting, remember, at that restaurant we visited." At last he finally recalled our meeting at the restaurant, his face turning pale as he trembled. A company that can't train its staff properly isn't worth supporting. I gave him a cold look. Out of desperation, Williams blurted out an incredible offer. "Then I will give you my daughter, Amy. I have raised her strictly. She is a fine woman. Please do as you wish with her." Despite it being his own daughter, he treated her like an object, which enraged me. "Don't mess with me. Children are not offerings." Anger nearly caused me to fall from my wheelchair. "I apologize, but Amy wishes to marry Sam, and her will is also my will." "Oh, so you won't oppose Miss Amy's wishes?" "Of course not," as I smiled slightly. He misinterpreted my forgiveness and slumped down relieved. "Let's hear it from the person herself, then. Poor Williams." I called out towards the door. "Come on in." As the door opened, Sam, Amy, and Williams's wife entered. Seeing the three, Williams's mouth fell open in astonishment. "Why are you all here?" "We came together." I had asked the three of them to wait by the door until I gave them a signal. I called the three of them here to directly confront Williams with their intentions. Sam, with gauze on his nose, glared at Williams. Seeing Sam and me, Williams quickly bowed his head to him. "Sam, I deeply apologize for raising my hand against you." "I am very sorry." Sam didn't respond and turned to face Amy. "My desire to marry Amy remains unchanged, but first, please hear what she has to say." Amy looked straight at her father and said, "I have lived obeying your orders, grateful for how you raised me. But now I choose to be with Sam." Amy, she and her mother stood side by side, glaring at Williams. "My mother and I are leaving the house and will cut ties with you." In the taxi, I learned about her decision to separate from Williams. That's why I brought them here to tell him directly. "Why? How?" "You're my wife, aren't you?" He grabbed his wife's shoulder, shaking her. However, she presented him with signed divorce papers. "I will not let a cruel husband dictate my daughter's life." Sam and Amy then declared to Williams, "We will get married after cutting ties with you, and my mother and I are leaving home. Thank you for everything up to now." She bowed her head, signifying their estrangement. Rejected by his family, Williams clung desperately. "No, don't abandon me. I've been awful, raising my hand and speaking harshly. I regret it. Don't leave me." But they looked down on him expressionlessly. Seizing the moment of his isolation, I addressed the shareholders. "Let's get back to the main issue. Those in favor of dismissing President Williams, please applaud." A few scattered claps gradually grew louder when everyone except Williams clapped. His fate was sealed. "This marks the end of your glorious life. Curse your own foolishness." "No, no." Williams collapsed to the floor, weeping loudly. With that, the emergency shareholder meeting was concluded. Subsequently, the company was absorbed through a merger, and Williams was stripped of his executive position. Now ostracized by former business associates, aware of his brutality, he found himself utterly alone. Moreover, a skilled lawyer hired by his wife exposed years of domestic harassment, resulting in a multi-million-dollar settlement. The once prestigious Williams family ended with his generation. Williams tried to start new businesses using the remnants of his fortune, but soon faced financial difficulties and went bankrupt repeatedly, increasing his debts until nothing was left. His mansion was seized for debt repayment, and all valuable possessions were confiscated. Without work, family, or a home, Williams wandered until he became homeless. One wonders what his ancestors, who had built such wealth, would think, seeing him now, likely standing at his bedside at night, whispering words of resentment. After the merger, Amy and her mother lived modestly, their faces brightening, freed from Williams's oppressive presence. Relieved, Sam happily married Amy. They built a new home and invited me to live with them. Initially, I refused, not wanting to intrude on the newlyweds, but they insisted, and I was spared loneliness. And one thing I almost forgot, I finally gave Sam the wedding gift I had carefully been saving for him.